Ooh, hello Gladys.
No, Johnny.
Hello out there. Boom. Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I'm Thundercloud Gladys, and my mum called me James, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows. After rains, let's have some fun linguistic games. Oh, well, lots of fun news happening here, or lots of exciting news happening here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Yes, on the 15th and 16th of August, we've got the Word Travels Australian Poetry Slam heat coming here. So on the Tuesday, the 15th of August, we've got the workshops, the slam workshops, and that's for schools. So any school kids, any schools out there, if you hear about this locally and within the 100-kilometre radius, there's poetry slam workshops here on the 15th of August, free. And then the 16th, we've actually got the poetry slam. As well as that, it is now definitely confirmed that the New South Wales Bush Poetry Championship will be here on excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Oh, pardon me. All right, yes, now the Australian New South Wales Bush Poetry Championship, woohoo! I've got a head rush from that. Is here on the 11th of November. So tell your bush poet mates, okay, to get to Guyra. Also from that weekend, the 9th, 10th, is the Australian Poetry Spring Film Festival, the Australian Spring Poetry Festival here in Guyra, through from the 9th to the 12th of November. In the Trout Fest here in Guyra, the 30th of September through to the 2nd October, we've got the Poets Breakfast here and we'll also have a school competition here for poets as well. So that will be exciting too. And yeah, so that's the news. Don't forget there's the market here every Saturday morning and we've got new stall holders coming. And well, what am I going to do for you tonight? Well, first I'm going to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I broadcast. They would be the Kamilaroi and the Gumaroi, or Kamilaroi, and the band by people, to acknowledge the continuing connection to the land of these people, acknowledge that sovereignty's never been ceded. All right, tonight I am reading to you, I'm going to begin with Douglas Stewart, one of our, great 20th century poet, but also anthologist, along with Nancy Keesing. They collected and compiled lots of Australian poetry from old, so it didn't go missing and get lost. But, so he worked a lot for Angus and Robertson. Now, this is actually some of his own poetry, published in 1946, called The Dozer in the Springtime. This is one of the books out of the Australian Poetry Library and Archive in there, which is now close to 1,000 Australian and international poetry books collected over the last 3 years. So if you've got some old poetry books that you no longer use, or you don't want your grandkids your children to burn, or you find books in the op shop or something, you can send them to the Australian Poetry Library here, 144 Bradley Street, Guyra. And this is actually a classic book because it's a first edition, published in 1946. Now, when you open it on the inside, it was originally in Memorial Library and in the City of Tamworth Library and in the Armidale City Library and in the Reserve Collection. Now, I got this from the Rotary Book Fair, and if I hadn't bought it, it actually would have been, and if no one had bought it, it would have been chucked out in the bin at the end of the fair. Now, that is just sacrilege for such a rare book. And so it is really, really fortunate that the Australian Poetry Library and Archive exists to rescue these old poetry books that, there are not many of them around left anymore. So this was a real find. The Dozer in the Springtime by Douglas Stewart, published in 1946, dedicated to Margaret Cohen. Don't know who she was, but yeah. Most of the poems here were first published in the Bulletin, and as well as Southerly and Meanjin. Because Meanjin has been going for a good 70 years or plus, I think, even more now, quite a while. All right, so it's quite a lovely book, and he's got quite some lovely poetry in here. It's all rhymed, metered, and a lot of it's about animals and stuff. So the one I'm going to start off with is the cricket. Not the game of cricket, but the little squeak little black thing that looks like a grasshopper. I can't get over it. I pipe and I trill, said the cricket, and if you should ask me why a full-grown insect should sit in a tiny tunnel in the ground and make a piping sound, I really have no reply. I can't get over it. What's my song about? I'll leave it to you, said the cricket. I know that the elders will die, but most of the eggs hatch out. I know the roots of the grass and the perils that thump as they pass. I like to announce I am I, and that's what my song's about. If you come clumping by, I quake and am still, said the cricket. There are bandicoots, cats and boys and frightening creatures that fly, and under my log or my stone I prefer to be left alone, resuming my piping noise as soon as you're safely by. I'd sooner never be heard, on the whole I think, said the cricket. My love, who has faultless taste, opines I can pipe like a bird. And dank and thorny and brown I trill when the sun goes down, and none of it goes to waste as long as my love has heard. Say what you darn well like, it's not a bad song, said the cricket. Here, while the grass blades glisten, thrusting each frosty spike from the earth where we serve our term, with the poor old grub and the worm I shrill, and the tall stars listen. Say what you damn well like.
Yeah.
Nice, isn't it? A lovely poem. All right. Now another, animal or mythical animal of Australian folklore is the bunyip. Here we go. The water down the rocky wall lets fall its shining stare. The bunyip in the deep green pool looks up it to the air. The kookaburra drank, he says, then shrieked at me with laughter. I dragged him down in a hairy hand and ate his thigh bones after. My head is bruised from the falling foam, the water blinds my eye, yet I will climb that waterfall and walk up to the sky. The turpentine and stringy bark, the dark red bloodwoods lean, and drop their shadows in the pool with blue sky in between. Ah, beast am I, the bunyip says, my voice a drowning cows, yet I am not a singing bird among these waving boughs. I raise my black and dripping head, I cry a bubbling cry, for I shall climb the trunks of trees and walk up to the sky. Gold and red gum trees glow, yellow gleam the ferns. The bunyip in the crimson pool believes the water burns. I know the roots of rocks, he says. I know the door of hell. I ate the abbo's daughter once. I know my faults full well. Yet sunset walks between the trees and sucks the water dry. And when the whole world's burnt away, I'll walk upon the sky. The little frogs, they call like bells. The bunyip swims alone. Across the pool the stars are laid, like stone by silver stone. What did I do before I was born? The bunyip asks the night. I looked at myself in the water's glass and I nearly died of fright. Condemned to haunt a pool in the bush while 1,000 years go by. Yet I walk on the stars like stepping stones, and I'll climb them into the sky. A lady walks across the night and sees the mirror there. Oh, is it for herself alone the moon lets down her hair? The yappy's back is green for her, his claws are opal blue. Look for my soul, the bunyip says, for it was a jewel too. I bellowed with woe to the yappy once, but all I said was a lie. For I'll catch the moon by a silver hair and dance her around in the sky.
Oh, John, that's excellent.
Isn't it? What a beautiful poem.
Very excellent.
Yeah. I do apologise for the word abos using that, but it is within there, and I also am not going to censor anything and change old poets because I think they need to be.
And because our poetry.
We need to respect how it was written and the thinking of those past people, so that we can learn from that how that's wrong. Yeah. So there. Whereas all right. Now the other one. The lady feeding the cats. Shuffling along in her broken shoes from the slums. A blue-eyed lady showing the weather's stain, her long dress green and black like a pine in the rain, her bonnet much bedraggled, daily she comes. Uphill past the Moreton Bays and the smoky gums, with a sack of bones on her back and a song in her brain to feed those outlaws prowling about the domain, those furtive she-cats and those villainous toms. Proudly they step up to meet her, they march together with an arching of backs and a waving of plumy tails and smiles that swear and never would harm a feather. They rub at her legs for the bounty that never fails. They think she is a princess out of the tower, and she is trembling with love and power. Part 2. Meat is meat and demands attention. But this is the sweetest moment they know, whose courtship even a hiss and a howl and a blow and so much kindness passing their comprehension. Beggars and rogues who never deserve this pension, some recollection of old Punctillo dawns in their eyes as she moves to go. They turn their battered heads in condescension. She smiles and walks back lightly to the slums. If she's fed their bodies, they have fed. More than the body in her, they purr like her drums. Their tails are banners and fountains inside her head. But times are hard for exiled aristocrats, but gracious and sweet it is to be Queen of the Cats. Yeah, the cat lady, or feeding the cats. Yeah, the lady feeding the cats. Now the next one. I'm not going to do that one. I'll change my mind. Nobody. Nobody here and nobody there. Nobody sitting with a book in the chair. Nobody in upstairs, she said. Nobody there whenever I look. For a man who sits with his nose in a book is quarter alive and 3 parts dead, and he's just as good as nobody. Nobody's smoking and nobody breathing, nobody's sitting where the smoke is wreathing, nobody's body and nobody's head. I might as well have been made of air, for there's nobody here if there's nobody there. And a man with his nose in a book, she said, is just as good as nobody. Now, this is interesting because, it's like she's someone has been complaining. Maybe he's been reading too much.
Yeah.
Well, the next one exactly after that is called Ball and Chain. So that usually refers to something that like holds you back or your misses or something. Anyway, Ball and Chain. Somewhere, doubtless in space, there was a pigeonhole in which they had filed the case of every wandering soul. They would never merely forget him, lost on some dusty shelf, nor he feared would they let him attempt to forgive himself. It happened so long ago he really could not recall whether he had struck a blow, what he had done at all. No doubt he had slain the deer, or by some dreadful chance offered his overseer to the death and the son of the ants. Dimly he knew of a voyage, a crowded and clamorous ship, much cursing, much courage, and backs bared to the whip, and then in a new country where the old singing birds were dumb, an old black crow for century and love and fighting and rum admitted that transportation was tolerable as such, lacking his compensation. The goanna endured as much. Shade could be found in the gully when the hottest suns were scorching. Tea bubbled in the billy at the end of the day's marching. But sentence had not been lenient if time had dulled the pain. Life was scarcely convenient, dragging a ball and chain. One could disregard it in love and quite forget it sleeping, but walking was hard enough, and as for flying or leaping, still one must make the attempt. One would die of this exile soon, and that was why it jumped prodigiously up to the moon. A profitless journey he found it among the snow and the stone, yet the heavens were blazing around it. He was proud of what he had done. Who would have dreamed to find him striding among the stars, huge, with the ball behind him, tolling his way to Mars? When he stood like a giant fishing, while the clear canals ran by, his mighty shadow went swishing dark all over the sky. Bravely indeed, but lame, the earth dragging his ankle, he trudged the ice and the flame on the next star's twinkle. We cannot follow him further. Back we surmise he will come, tumbling and yelling blue murder to the girls and the fists and the rum. Some homing instinct called him, perhaps as it calls the dove. His memories appalled him. He hardly expected love. Yet he went on and on in the Milky Way's white glare, stepping from stone to stone and up the steep and broken stair.
Very good.
Yeah, story of a convict.
Yeah.
Not about an old ball and chain.
Well, it is.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Now I've got two more in here. This one is the bat. Well, strike me dead, the fisherman said. What was it whizzing so close to me head? A flittering thought from the grey rock's wart, tricky to follow, not to be caught. I watched it skim by Duckmalloy's brim, where Bindo towers craggy and grim. A dance of delight, a grey silver sprite, a light and companion of rock and delight and of night. Oh, bat, little bat, come under my hat and hang upside down if you like it like that. For the willows fold in the dark and the cold their autumn banners of dusky gold. And lowly they roll in the mind and the soul, the leagues of chill river a man must patrol, with a dance and a dream, with a glance and a gleam, something that flutters by rock and by stream. Yeah. And the last one here, the dwarfs. Loud roar the trains, with a sound like the surf's. Hobbs is sitting late with his 10 red dwarfs, and they skip and they hop and they bend their bony knees, the red dwarfs dancing in the thunder of the seas. Left thumb's a fat dwarf, right thumb's the same. Long and lean is middle dwarf, and little dwarf is lame. They click and they clack, and the fat dwarfs wheeze, the 10 red dwarfs on typewriter keys. Fair lies the city he would lie beside of nights, like a white girl sleeping in her glittering bed of lights. But the red dwarfs are working, and they keep what hours they please, hammering and stamping on the typewriter keys. 50 russet summers are rich in his hands, rolling in his mind like the sea along the sands. But little dwarf is spindly, and fat dwarf is bald, and long and lank and bearded dwarf stands up and looks appalled. But mighty ships are loaded by midgets at the wharf, and Hobbs is looking smiling at the labours of his dwarfs, and they loaded the ship with summer, and they skip about like fleas. The red dwarfs are dancing in the thunder of the seas. Yeah. But he would have to mention only the thumb, the little one, and the middle finger, wouldn't he? Yeah. Oh dear. All right. Well, you got a couple now?
Yes.
Gladys? Okay. All right. Gladys Wilson.
Look. So I found the chair. And I gave the chair.
Mm-hmm. There we are.
That's right, good. Well, good evening everyone out there, and welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. And like James said earlier, there's a lot happening in here, and we have a wonderful time in here Wednesday nights, but besides there's all this stuff happening, so we hope you're out there watching. Now this one here, just called, yes, Mission Number 1. The word went around at the rescue squad that a galah had got away. He had joined his mates in freedom where the tall pine branches sway. I'll get a minute. The boys, they come a-running with their ladders and their ropes to rescue this poor stranded bird. They had the highest hopes. This mission was the first one. The squad had only formed a week or two, but they were eager for a tryout and knew just what they had to do. Their training and equipment left a lot to be desired. It seemed they lacked the vital thing that to effect this rescue they required. When they reached the treetops after hours of preparation, the bird flew off to a safer place, much to the rescuer's exasperation. Now, everybody knows that to catch a bird, you must put some salt upon its tail. To rescue a galah beside a ladder and some ropes, you must take a little salt and the rescue will not fail. This rescue squad is a wonderful thing. With training and equipment, they will get the job done. They will achieve what they set out to do, despite the galah, the failed mission number 1.
Oh, yeah, that's
And this is the New England Ranges here. Way up in the New England Ranges, where the winter is so cold, the land is rich and fertile, and beauty there untold. While the world is sleeping, the fairies work all night, and to the breaking of the dawn, we behold a wonderful sight. They have left a snowy carpet that stretches o'er the land. It gleams like pure white crystal and makes the earth look like rain. Through the snow clouds ever near, and the wind is just an icy blast, there is beauty in the ranges that cannot be surpassed. The white clouds gather quickly, and the snowflakes start to fall like millions of tiny feathers. They make no sound at all. When the falls are heavy and the snow lies inches deep upon the ground, we gaze in frustration at the glory all around. The snow-capped mountains and the ridges, the treetops covered all in white, their branches drooping downwards in a scene of pure delight. Mm-hmm. That's just James said.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, Myra Sweeney. Yes, she's.
Myra Sweeney, yeah, that's lovely, that. Yes. So I better put this back up.
Yes, Jane, put that up
So
for you.
so people can see.
Not everybody in here
Go up,
short,
yeah.
so.
Oh, there we are. All right. Now I've got a couple that I've written this week, but not a lot. Here we go. What have I got? Oh, well, I've got one that I didn't write. This one I did write. It is how it is, and it's not my job to change Jill, Jack, Jim, Mary, Bob. Only ourselves can decide our own situation. Trying to change another only ends in frustration. That was a little quick one I wrote this week, yes. The elephant in the room.
Oh, James.
Yeah. This is about, this is actually about addressing homelessness in Australia. I'll just put this podium back up a bit higher. As you see, we have, I think in Sydney in the last census, couple of years ago, on census night, there were 100,000 empty houses.
Yes.
But we don't have, there's a lot of homeless people in Australia.
Mm.
So there's 100,000 empty houses just in Sydney.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of homeless people. Why aren't they in houses? Well, I got it worked out, you see. It's to do with negative gearing and the capital gains tax break.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You see, if you're a big landlord and you got, let's say 10 houses, a million, say, and each of them's worth $500,000, so you've got $5 million worth of property. Now, and they're all positive geared, so you're going to get a big tax bill at the end. But then you've got some cranky tenants who make a mess, and when they move out, you decide you'll leave that house empty, because if it's empty, you can write off that empty house with as negative geared off your total tax bill.
Oh, right.
So what happens if you're a landlord with, say, 100 houses, then you might have 10 empty. So that's why if they got rid of negative gearing and the capital gains tax break, it would be much less incentive for landlords to leave houses empty, which would, by default, keep the price of houses down, the price of renting houses down. The elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant. No government addresses negative gearing. Politicians as landlords are selfish sycophants like pigs with noses in pig troughs squealing. To address homelessness, it would be rather easily if it wasn't for the investment homes of Albanese and all the other politicians. Self-interested politicians with so many interest conflicts have no motivation for the elephant in the room that they could easily fix. Yeah. So I think it was Bill Shorten actually wanted to get rid of negative gearing. Yes. And it wasn't long after that they actually got rid of Bill Shorten instead. And we wouldn't have been in this situation today. So that's my challenge to the government of Australia: end negative gearing if you're serious about ending homelessness and the housing crisis. Serious, true. That's the truth. Now, ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence app on the internet.
Yes,
and it's based on what they call a large language model. So there's an algorithm that goes out and looks at all the data it can and then works out how language works and then puts together. So you can query it, a bit like Google. You can ask it questions, but you can ask it complex questions like to write stuff. So I asked ChatGPT to write the following. I said, write an acrostic poem about thunderclouds with the first line beginning with the word thunderclouds and the last line beginning with the word storm. Except it's done a acrostic poem with thunderclouds and then it's got storm as an extra line. So it's thunderclouds, it gave me an extra line. So the result is actually pretty awesome. It's a bit sort of Wordsworthish actually. Here we go. Thunderclouds gather, dark and immense, heavy with secrets and ominous presence. Underneath their shadow the world turns grey. Nature's symphony unfolds in a powerful display. Dancing lightning illuminates the sky's expanse, energizing the air with each thunderous chant. Raindrops cascade a rhythmic drumming sound, cleansing the earth, blessing the ground. Lush greenery quenches its thirst. Oceans of life in a thunderous burst. Undulating winds whisper tales untold. Darkness and wonder gracefully unfold. Serenading the earth with their electric form. Storm of nature, enchanting and warm.
James, that's absolutely excellent.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't write it.
You didn't?
No.
Good God.
I know. Artificial intelligence. The computer wrote it. A machine wrote it. Serious.
Oh, right, James.
I know. That's why I'm just like, well, if the artificial intelligence can do that, it's going to put me out of a job.
Well, James, this is it.
Yeah. But it won't, because I can still write it from hand anyway.
Yes, it's
Now, the other thing, the nefarious gates of Bing chat. Now, if you are a Facebook user, you might have noticed lately that there's been a little Bing sign there. Now, Microsoft Bing has recently integrated OpenGT chat, whatever it is, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and they've also integrated into Facebook. So if you agree to the conditions, you lose all your privacy, and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg get all your search data for their OpenAI. So if you really want to do that, well, go ahead. I don't. The nefarious gates of Bing chat. Will you open your gates to the data? Will you open your gates to your metaverse? Will you open the gates to a Zucker Leech? Bing chat with AI will open the gates to your private information verse. Warning, you need to consent to Bing to receiving the searches you make using this app, and your privacy ceases to exist. I won't do what you tell me. That's that. The disagreeable poets. This is the next one. Call us crazy, fearful, conspiracy mad. We're the poets and we're not bad. Just jokers who provide a spark, push the boundaries of light and dark until they find out we are right to take the dark and shine a light. Cannot ever gag what we say. Winston Assange may be locked away. Mainstream media give bottom billing to war crimes and extrajudicial killing. Call us crazy, we light the light to burn the phoenix. Call us crazy, we light the fire to burn this phoenix. We aspire for every man, woman, boy and girl to have freedom and sovereignty in this world. They call us mad, we fight the fight, disagreeable disobedience with a sense of right. They'll fail if they try to censor us, the disagreeable poets who aren't anonymous. We write the truth and speak it loud like lightning and thunder from a thundercloud. That's that, yeah. And that's it. Thank you, Gladys. That's my poetry this week that I've written. And finally, I'm going to end the night with a couple from my new book, Djanbung's Peaceful Protest in Nimbin, available here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame and also on Amazon as a paperback, 236 pages, or an ebook. So it's a nice thick poetry book full of cool poetry written by me. First one I'm going to do tonight, I've got it marked here, is If I Could Be an Animal.
Well, I don't.
I am a bit of an animal. Okay. The bilby is an animal I'd like to be, or a baby wombat because it's cute, as you can see. You may catch me being a crocodile, but I'd prefer to be an animal that would make you smile. I could be a koala or a panda in bamboo, a baby seal, a dolphin or a baby kangaroo. But I'd never be a monster or a great white pointer shark. I'd like to be a kitten or a possum in the dark. A cute and cuddly animal I'd like to be, but I really can't imagine being a sloth, a newt or flea, a budgie or canary, a pet mouse in a cage, but definitely not a Komodo dragon or a baboon in a rage. I'd like to be a panda, black and white and eat bamboo. I wouldn't be a pig rolling in mud and poo. If I could be an animal, a cute one I would be, but there's little chance of changing, so I guess I'll stay just me. There we go, and I just found a spelling mistake. But I think I fixed that one because this is the end.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And okay, I've got 3-4 more to go, and then we're done for the night. Okay, smile. This is smile. Oh, I can't see without my glasses anyway. It's all right to be kind. You can be loving too. Smiling is okay, and you don't have to feel blue. When you smile a smile, others feel happy, but when you frown, you feel crappy. It's all right to dance, you can sing your love true, create what you want, a life of bliss for you. When you smile with care and your love inside, your love comes out and cannot hide. It's fine to be happy and a gentle human, create the peace you want, love your fellow humans. Life is too short to be angry, fearful and mad, teary or violent, make others feel sad. It's all right to be kind, you can be loving too, smiling's okay, you don't have to feel blue. When you smile a smile, others feel happy, but when you frown, you feel crappy. Apparently, if you stick a pen in your mouth like that, or walk around with that, it has the same effect as smiling. And 2 to go, here we go, another one, repeat day, no, this little tag here. This one over here. Okay, Willy Worm. Willy Worm lived underground, he ate dirt and burrowed all around until one day he did decide to have a look and stick his head outside. There was so much for Willy to see out of the ground. He wriggled free. Willy Worm was pinkish red. I couldn't tell where was his head. I said, "Willy, get underground. It's not safe here. There's birds around." Willy was spotted by a hawk. It gave a mighty squeaky squawk. Hawk swooped down to the ground, picked up Willy and swallowed him down. Willy Worm is now quite flat. Pooped out, Willy Worm went splat. Here lies Willy Worm eaten by a bird. All that is left was a bird turd. Poor Willy Worm. Oh no. And the final one here, discourse on power. But I want to have a discourse on force first. For me, force is the opposite of power. See, force is like, for me, how governments kind of work, how, people who want to control other people work, people who think they know what's best for everyone else. Like, they humiliate people, they shame them, they try and blame them, they put fear into them, and all of those kinds of things. But that's enough about that. Let's get on to the discourse on power, which is the opposite to force, because power is built on love, not fear. So power is control. asked my son Luca one morning, and I replied, power is in just being. Being centered. Being at peace with all around you. Power is ineffable. Power is a huge wave in the ocean, and being able to ride the wave fearlessly and calmly, successfully. Power is in the bliss of illumination in the morning sun. Power is the wind of a cyclone, but also the still and subtle breeze passing into the body. Power is deep breathing. Power is taking a blank page and creating an artistic piece out of love that makes other people cry with joy. Force. Now that is control. Power is the warmth of the sunlight, the lung full of clean air, the stomach full of clean water, and the free will of the heart and universal mind. Power is positive, working energy of radiance. Control of sound is power over your destiny. Thank you. Well, that's it for tonight.
Very enjoyable.
Wednesday Words. It has been. It's been lovely. Those
Yes.
poems of Douglas Stewart, absolutely fantastic. So thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, please. Click on subscribe, the notifications bell, so you say notified or whatever we're doing. And subscribe to our website. We go to our website and see what's on there. Yeah. All right. I'll see you later. Good night, Gladys. Thank you for coming.
Well, James,
Good night to you. Bye-bye.
And thank you for that beautiful move, James. That was
You're
absolutely
very,
splendid.
very welcome.